Slash has a new signature guitar. Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. That's right, Slash has a new signature ES335. We started in 1996 with his first public signature guitar of the Snake Pit, took a detour through many of other Les Pauls through the 2000s to 2010s era, introduced the current Slash collections within Gibson, as well as Epiphone lineups. But in the more recent era, he's been experimenting more, like we got his Double Neck, which is still a famous guitar of his. But by far the most black sheep in the Slash collection has to be his old Firebird, that they only ever made 25 in each of its hues. So here we go, another odd duck for the collection. They're gonna make 50 of these, and they're $15,000. But the catch is, this is like the Greenie event last year that was $50,000. Gibson is making an event out of this. When we saw the Jimmy Page Double Necks get released, I was shocked. That was not the meet and greet fun event time, and I was scared we would never see that happen again. But here's the next one if you want an exclusive party to 50 people and their guests. But before we get too far into that, let's check out the guitar itself. So Slash just came out with his new album, and it's very blues inspired, so that's why I went for the 335. Now instantly you're going to recognize, hey, we've got a Bigsby B7, that's okay. You've got your custom-made plaque, which was very common for the factory used to cover over the existing stop bar studs if they needed to convert one over. You've got your period correct upside-down ABR1 bridge, and I'm surprised he doesn't have like uncovered humbuckers in here. Just regular custom buckers, but they're Alnico 2 magnets, so that is different. Because your regular stock custom bucker, according to the Gibson website anyways, comes with Alnico 3s, and that's kind of what Slash is known for, the Alnico 2s. But it's recreating a relatively clean 1963 that he used to record this new album with. And Slash being part of Gibson Records, it makes sense that they would make a signature guitar and have a little event just to drum up some activity about it. Because even if some people are turned off by the price tag, they might listen to the album if they didn't know it existed. But being a 63, we actually have the block inlays, so that's interesting. I was kind of shocked to see no Slashifications though. I mean, I get it, it's custom shop, aged by the Murphy Labs. But I thought for sure we'd have a Scully somewhere on this to identify it as Slash. You know what? I wonder if they were brazen enough to put it on the Soundhole sticker. Unfortunately, I don't have any photos of that. I think it would have been cool had they'd put it on like one of the inlays. Or maybe instead of this design on the custom-made plaque, they could have had two Scullys right there. That would have been sweet. Or maybe remove the Bigsby branding, throw it on there. Or maybe put it on the toppers. It would have been nice to have some Slash on this, because what I'm getting at is, if you told me this was a signature model for someone and showed it to me, Slash would not even come into my head. Because it's a relatively common finish on a relatively normal guitar as far as specs and colorings go. I mean, being a 63, it should technically have Brazilian rosewood, and this one's just Indian. And limiting it to 50 guitars, I think, was a good idea. Because if you're curious how much the Slash tax is, it's about $9,000. So let's learn about the experience now. What are they giving you in addition to the guitar that is completely separate from the price for legal reasons? You get a signed album by Slash. You get his new The Collection coffee table book, also signed. Which, by the way, those things were not cheap to buy separately. Something they're calling a COA booklet. But you get an evening with Slash, which features the man himself with his new band doing a live performance of some of the songs on their album. And it looks like you maybe get to eat dinner while Mark Agnesi interviews him. So I'll be interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this one. Is it worth the $15,000 price tag? Because you got to keep in mind, this one does not include your hotel stay. It doesn't have the plane tickets. You don't have Brazilian rosewood and all that other good stuff going on. Slash is a huge name, especially within the Gibson culture. So while I definitely agree the price is high on this, especially for what the guitar is, I could see how it could be worth it to 50 people, because there's tons of collectors out there who want every single Slash model. And for a guy like me, I like to collect the weird, quirky, oddball things. Like those Firebirds, they interest me now. Maybe not when they first came out, but the limited edition nature of it is vaguely interesting. But to me, the most interesting thing is actually the event, a slightly more intimate sit-down to view the band. That's very appealing to me, because a giant venue concert, that's just not my style of scene. But if you're interested, you can call the Gibson Garage. I'm not sure if they'll ship these internationally, so if you're interested and you're running into issues, feel free to use my forwarding service. But we've got new guitars to talk about tonight. Miranda Lambert gets an Epiphone. It wasn't all that long ago that they just came out with the new Gibson version. It was $4,650. But I love animal-influenced guitars, doves, hummingbirds, those are cool, so to have a Bluebird variation on those, I thought it was cool, even if you're not a Miranda Lambert fan. I mean, blue looks good on an acoustic guitar. Not traditional by any means, but fun nonetheless. But let's be real here, that's a lot of money. So when I saw this for $800, it's like, yeah, I can see this inspiring somebody to want to pick it up and learn some picking. But in switching between the two versions, I don't feel they did the pickguard enough justice. You see how thin the lines are on this one? The birds don't really stand out. Whereas over here, the blue just smacks you in the face, even more so than the guitar, and especially the greens. Whereas the Epiphone one, it's a bit more subdued. But whoa, I like that. Instead of just your typical all black case, it doesn't cost them any more to use brown for your lining and throw a brown handle on it, but that has a certain luxurious vibe to it. I like it. But it looks like they are utilizing a scarf join to craft your heel, and that's a rather gray looking back on this particular one. Ooh, no batteries included. And the next one came out a couple of weeks back, but it just never naturally fit into any episode. The Rex Brown Thunderbird. Similar to that Bluebird, about a year or so ago, they came out with a Gibson version for $2,800. Now we've got an Epiphone release at $1,300. So it's about half as much. So Gibson version, Epiphone version. Looks like we have completely different pickups. Now go back up to your headstock, truss rod, step, whereas this one's stepped but with a different style truss rod situation. Looks like our Thunder logos are looking very different. Maybe not quite as gold over here. Our bridges are different, but our layout's about the same. But the big thing is the Gibson version was a set neck, not neck through. So I like that he packed a little bit something different there into the Epiphone version, and it doesn't look like we get the detuner thing on the backside of the headstock. Easy enough to add. Next up, we have news from Richie Faulkner. You guys remember his Flying V? We reviewed it on the show. Piercing blue, double pickguard vibe with Floyd Rose, you can't forget it. Gibson has sent him an Explorer version of that guitar. It's rather divisive though. We've never seen a pickguard exactly like this. I kind of like it though. It reminds me of like a blue suit, and this is like the white shirt underneath. Because it's going to cover over the area for the Floyd Rose route, and it's going to look nice in that aspect. Looks like you get his signature inlay right there. He got them to actually bind the headstock on an Explorer Custom, so nice job on that, Richie. An interesting location for the toggle switch. Instead of right here, he's got it down there, because maybe it gets in his way. At this point in time, I think it's just they're trying things out. Do I think they could see success in a limited edition run on this? 1,000%. But just like his Gibson and Epiphone versions, I'm sure there's going to be many different revisions before we eventually see something. Because while the matching blue is cool, I would love to see him experiment with maybe a different color. Like we didn't go production black last time. Perhaps that would look good on this? I think something a bit more out there like Alien Tech Green would be fun too. Giant pickguard. Honestly, not as unattractive as I thought it would be. But speaking of signature Explorers, remember the Dave Mustaine ones that they were trying out that looked like maybe natural black and gold top potentially? I wonder if those are still coming or not, because I love artist signature Explorers. And then in Fender news, they recently came out with the American Professional 2 Thinline collection. Looks like these are just shy of 2,000. They're limited edition. We've got a Daphne Blue, a White Blonde, Surf Green, and Shell Pink, all those being slightly transparent by the way. The specs seem interesting and basic enough. Got the sculpted heel with the deep sea neck. The pickguard is an acquired taste, especially with the cream plastics. It's interesting enough. I'd review one of those. And of course, we've got the Thinline Telly as well in the White Blonde, Daphne Blue, Surf Green, and Shell Pink. Maybe the colors work better in person, but yeah, in my opinion, it's not my favorite looking Telecaster. The Thinline Tellys are fun. And you can always swap out the pickguard if you really hate it. And they also came out with a new Lincoln Brewster Stratocaster. I'll never forget making this episode because I was just so baffled. A church pastor gets a signature guitar? Now, I've learned a little bit more about him since then, but he's got an interesting backstory if you're not familiar. But his signature guitar initially came in the Aztec gold finish, and now we've got a new white color. But it's not just white. They're labeling it as Olympic Pearl Lacquer finish. But then the last topic for tonight, Sam Ash closing down. So a couple of months ago, it was starting to go around the rumor mill that like almost half the stores were going away as they transitioned more into like an online model. But then just out of nowhere recently, it's all the stores they're closing. But I'm not going to claim that I'm the most well-versed or read into this. Honestly, I never really liked the stores anyway. But then again, I've never had one around me. But it all comes down to online shopping experience. When I would think of a store that I would buy from online, their name wasn't even in my head. Except for the odd time that I would find a listing that I happen to be interested in on Reverb. But alright, Troglodytes, that's enough talking for tonight. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.